In the early years of World War II, governments could ration food, but they could not guarantee delivery. Cities were bombed, rail lines disrupted, imports cut off overnight. What kept millions from hunger was not industrial farming or emergency aid, but small plots of soil tended by people who understood that, well, self-reliance was no longer optional. Victory gardens were not patriotic decoration. They were a parallel food system that quietly carried entire cities through years of uncertainty. What is often forgotten is how sophisticated these gardens became, especially in dense urban environments where space, soil and tools were limited. The techniques developed then were practical, repeatable and brutally efficient, and they translate directly to modern urban survival today. Garden planners learned to grow calories first and variety second. One of the most important wartime lessons was that gardens were planned around calories, not novelty. Potatoes, beans, beets, turnips, cabbage and onions dominated because they produced reliable energy per square foot. Families avoided crops that looked impressive but yielded little nutrition. Today, urban gardeners often repeat the opposite mistake, filling containers with herbs or salad greens that never sustain. A World War II-style approach starts by calculating food value first, then flavour. Even a balcony can support calorie crops like potatoes in sacks or beans trained vertically if planned with purpose. Soil was built, not bought, and it was constantly recycled. During the war, commercial fertilizers were scarce or reserved for farms. Gardeners made soil productive by composting kitchen scraps, leaves, wood ash, and even shredded paper. Nothing organic was wasted. Soil fertility was treated as a living system that had to be fed year-round. In modern cities, this translates directly to composting indoors, using worm bins and reusing soil season after season rather than replacing it. World War II gardeners understood that soil independence mattered as much as seed access. Vertical growing became an urban necessity, not a trend. With yards converted to shared plots and rooftops pressed into service, vertical growing became common practice. Beans climbed fences, peas ran up string, cucumbers were trained against walls. This was not aesthetic gardening, it was space economics. The same applies today in apartments and small lots. Vertical crops multiply yield without expanding footprint, and wartime gardeners mastered this long before it became fashionable. Continuous planting, my friends, was a game-changer, replacing the old single-harvest mindset. You see, victory gardens back in the day were never just planted once and then forgotten. No, as soon as one crop was harvested, another went right into the ground. Fast-growing vegetables were used to fill the gaps between the slower ones. Radishes, greens and scallions, for instance, kept the soil producing constantly. And you know, modern urban survival can really benefit from this same mindset. Empty soil is, well, a wasted opportunity. By staggering plantings and rotating crops, even a small space can feed a household steadily rather than just briefly. Now, seed saving, let me tell you, was treated as a survival skill, not just a hobby. During those wartime shortages, gardeners quickly learned that relying on store-bought seeds could be quite dangerous. So seeds were saved, traded and guarded with great care. Plants were even allowed to bolt intentionally so their seeds could be harvested. This practice ensured food for the next year, regardless of any supply disruptions. Today, urban gardeners can apply this directly by focusing on open pollinated varieties and learning some basic seed-saving techniques. Independence truly begins when the garden can reproduce itself, don't you think? Pests. Those little buggers were managed with observation and timing rather than chemicals. With pesticides either unavailable or discouraged, WWII gardeners relied on timing, companion planting and manual control. Crops were planted early or late to dodge pest cycles, you see. Strong-smelling plants were used to confuse the insects. Hands-on inspection took the place of chemical spraying. And, modern urban gardens can really benefit from the same approach, especially where chemicals are restricted. This method, it produces resilient plants and requires knowledge rather than products. Quite the clever way to garden, if you ask me. Food preservation was planned alongside planting, Victory gardeners did not grow food without knowing how it would be stored. Crops were chosen based on how well they canned, dried or root cellared. Onions, potatoes, squash and cabbage were valued because they extended food security into winter. Today's urban survivalist can mirror this by prioritizing crops that store well in small spaces, such as curing squash under beds or storing root vegetables in insulated containers. Shared gardens quietly created food networks. Many wartime gardens were communal, even when labelled individual. Neighbours shared tools, water access, labour and surplus. This created informal food networks that buffered shortages. Modern urban survival works the same way. Community gardens, shared composting and cooperative seed exchanges strengthen food security beyond what any single gardener can achieve alone. Victory gardens were about discipline, not nostalgia. These gardens succeeded because people treated them seriously. They were maintained in rain, cold and fatigue because failure had consequences. The lesson for modern urban survival is clear. Gardening for resilience requires routine, planning and accountability. It is not a weekend pastime when conditions worsen. Victory gardens were not symbols of optimism. They were systems built under pressure, refined by necessity and proven over years of uncertainty. The same pressures exist today in different forms, and the solutions remain remarkably similar. If you value historically tested food security strategies and want more content that connects past survival wisdom to modern realities, subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who understands that resilience is grown, not bought.